I found out real quick what it meant to be part of someone else's empire. Arthur McNally walked into the office that day in his usual press suit, said nothing to me, just nodded at his daughter like I didn't exist. Angela smiled like that was normal. She always did that. Smiled through things that would have pissed any regular person off. My name's Darren. I'm 54, live in a 3-bedroom apartment downtown Dallas, and I work as a financial officer at McNally & Sons, the concrete giant her family built, brick by brick, over 3 generations. Her grandfather poured the first foundation himself. Arthur turned it into a billion-dollar empire, and me? I walked in through the back door and never really left. I grew up in a rusted-out trailer outside Amarillo. My mom worked 2 jobs, cleaned motel bathrooms by day, did truck stop books at night. We lived off canned beans and generic cereal. I learned math faster than most kids because I had to help her balance tip money and late fees. Angela, she was the kind of girl you only saw in catalogs or alumni brochures. Private school, Ivy League finance degree, summer internships she never applied for. She strolled into the bank I worked at in my early 30s, and I was just the guy handling her father's accounts. I didn't think she'd even remember my name, but she did. We dated quietly, mostly lunches and late calls, nothing flashy. Her dad didn't like me at first. Thought I was some overpaid hick with good Excel skills. And he wasn't wrong, but I knew how to find missing digits faster than anyone he had on payroll. I cleaned up 2 years' worth of sloppy contractor payments in under a week. After that, he stopped sneering when I walked in. Angela and I got married a year later. City Hall, no press, no big family photos. Arthur called it efficient. I didn't argue. Right after the honeymoon, Arthur called me into his office and said, "I've got men with MBAs who don't know a balance sheet from a sandwich. You make the numbers talk. Come work for me full time. You'll never want for work again." I took the offer. Not because I trusted him, but because I was tired of groveling for clients at the bank and running spreadsheets for people who couldn't spell subcontractor. That was the first day I stepped into McNally & Sons with a badge. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. And that was the last day I ever felt like I actually belonged. Arthur handed me a stack of contractor reports and walked out without another word. I didn't ask questions. I just did the work. At first, I stayed buried in contractor payments and monthly reconciliations, stuck in a back office near the freight elevator while Angela floated around managing the estate. That meant wine tastings, garden redesigns, and a rotating crew of decorators with oversized sunglasses. I lived inside spreadsheets, payroll, materials, fuel costs. I could smell when a supplier was fudging numbers. If a sub tried to slip in a double invoice, I caught it before the check was printed. After a few months, Arthur started calling me into the deal meetings. No warning. His assistant would knock, wave me in, and there I was, in a room full of executives who all shared his last name. The first time, nobody even offered me a chair. Arthur pointed to a site plan on the wall and barked, "What's the cost of delay if we push foundation another 3 weeks?" I ran the numbers in my head, told him straight. About 1.4 million, not counting overtime and weather risk. But the real loss is the contract penalty. 5% of total. Maybe 2.8 when all's said and done. No one said a word. Arthur grinned, leaned back in his chair and said, "He's good. You boys hear that? Better instincts than half my sons put together." That's when the power shifted, quiet but sharp. The next week, my name showed up on the internal invite list for all the major strategy sessions. After a year, I was promoted to executive finance director. 2 years in, I was CFO. Angela said nothing, just nodded like it didn't matter. She came to a few board meetings in the beginning, smiled, took notes, didn't speak unless her father called on her. Most of the time she was gone, out at some benefit auction or spa fundraiser. She'd text me links to furniture she wanted or pictures of rooftop gardens she saw on Instagram. Meanwhile, I was pulling 15-hour days. I had grease on my hands from walking job sites, red lines across my palms from dragging contractor folders everywhere. I wasn't just pushing paper, I was in it. Cost projections, union negotiations, bonding insurance, lawsuits, debt servicing, all of it ran through my office. One night, I came home after 10, exhausted, shirt untucked, arms full of printouts. Angela didn't even look up. "You're late again," she said, scrolling her phone. "No dinner? I asked, already knowing the answer. She shrugged. I wasn't sure if you were even coming home. I dropped the papers on the counter, hard enough to rattle the bar stools. This is what growth looks like, Angela. You want to keep living in that house? You want the staff, the benefits, the events? This is what it costs. She turned off her screen and looked at me like I was a stranger. Don't act like you're the only one sacrificing. I gave up opportunities for this marriage. I almost laughed. You didn't give up anything. You never even tried to build something. She walked upstairs without another word. From that night on, I stopped explaining myself. I'd come home late, sometimes not at all. I started crashing in the office guest suite, the kind with blackout curtains and a stocked mini fridge. While she was busy picking out napkin colors for charity dinners, I was forecasting steel futures and locking in labor contracts that saved us millions. Arthur noticed. He stopped asking for anyone else's opinion during financial reviews. He'd wait until the room cleared, then shut the door and ask, "How bad is it really?" And I'd tell him, no fluff, no polish, just facts. The old man respected that. He wasn't warm, but he started trusting me. He stopped calling me Darren and started calling me McNally's hammer. Said I broke problems instead of dancing around them. Arthur didn't make a speech. He just slid the folder across the table and said, "You're running it now?" I opened the damn thing thinking it was a new vendor proposal. Instead, it was full operational control. Sign-offs, staffing, budget authority, legal power of attorney. Every signature line had his name already inked in black. He'd cleared it with the board, told the legal team, even looped in the bank. Angela sat across from me in that same boardroom, looking bored, didn't ask a question, didn't raise an eyebrow. When the meeting ended, she stood up, grabbed her purse, and said under her breath, "Figures." Next morning, she was gone, spa trip, left a note on the fridge, taking a breather. Don't wait up, I didn't. A couple days later, her mother, Margaret, called me out of the blue. Formal tone, like she was reading from a script. "This isn't what Arthur had in mind," she said. "The company should stay in the bloodline." I kept my voice flat. Arthur made his decision. He gave it to the person who's been running it anyway. She hung up without saying goodbye. That's when the whispers started. I'd walk into team meetings and notice the pause, the look from Angela's brothers like I was trespassing in their childhood clubhouse. One of them, Patrick, actually said to my face, "Don't get too comfortable, man." Blood's thicker than spreadsheets. I didn't respond. Just handed him the P&L report, showing we'd cut overhead by 6%, and closed a deal that had flowed our payroll for the next 3 quarters. But things at home were shot. Angela stopped pretending to care. She skipped the quarterly gala we hosted at the Omni. I asked her why, and she just said, "They're your people now, not mine." I looked at her, really looked, and realized I hadn't seen her smile in months. Not genuinely. She wasn't even angry, just cold, detached. She started sleeping in the guest room. No fight, no conversation. Just moved her stuff and left mine untouched. I asked if we were going to talk about it. As she said, "There's nothing to talk about." She stopped coming to the office altogether. Didn't even check in when we launched a 7-figure expansion project down in Austin. She used to pop in and pretend to take interest. Now, nothing. Arthur noticed. He and I talked more after that. Weekly check-ins turned into daily calls. He still had a sharp eye, but he let me drive. He'd ask how Angela was doing, and I'd give him the same answer every time. Quiet. One night after work, I was sitting at the kitchen table going over supply chain delay reports. Angela walked in, saw the papers, and rolled her eyes. "You ever think about anything else?" she said. I looked up. "I think about keeping this company from collapsing. That count?" She walked to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of sparkling water, then leaned against the counter. "You're obsessed. You talk more to my father than you talk to me. Your father's still involved. You're not." She shook her head and walked away. No slam of the door, no curse, just nothing. That was when it hit me. It wasn't just me she pulled away from. She didn't talk to Arthur anymore either. She skipped his birthday, ignored his texts, pretended she didn't see his name pop up on her phone. He told me one day, "She's drifting, Darren. And when people drift, they either come back or sink." I didn't know which one she'd choose, but I knew I wasn't jumping in after her. It started with a knock on the guest house door. I wasn't even home when Vanessa moved in. Angela texted me a picture of her luggage lined up like a damn department store display. Vanessa's staying for a few weeks, she wrote, just till she gets back on her feet. I stared at my phone in the middle of a supplier renegotiation meeting and felt my jaw tighten. I knew Vanessa. Third divorce, zero filter, fake sympathy, always scanning a room for weakness. She once leaned across our dinner table and said to me, "Not bad for a trailer boy, huh?" I didn't like her, never had. She was loud, overconfident, and way too curious about things that didn't concern her. But Angela insisted. She needs support, she said when I got home that night. She's been through hell. I dropped my laptop bag on the floor. And I'm guessing she's staying rent-free. Angela didn't even blink. She's family, Darren. Since when? She just walked away. First few days, Vanessa kept her distance, played the part, baked banana bread, thanked me for sharing the space, complimented the landscaping like she gave a damn. But by the end of week 1, she was everywhere. Started popping into the kitchen in her robe like we were roommates, took over the patio with her phone calls and wine glasses. Once, I came home late and found her organizing Angela's mail, flipping through bills and newsletters like she lived there. Then came the company functions. First time, I figured she was tagging along. No big deal. But by the third event, she was hugging Arthur, calling my VP sweetheart, and telling new vendors she was part of the McNally circle. She clung to Angela's arm like a lifeline, laughed too loud, dropped stories about when we were little, like we all gave a damn about their sleepaway camp drama. One night, I walked into my home office and caught her flipping through a binder of subcontractor expenses. She jumped when I walked in, but barely tried to cover it. "What the hell are you doing?" I asked, stepping in. She closed the binder slowly, like she wasn't even embarrassed. "Just curious how the empire runs. Don't worry, I'm not skimming." I stood there, fist clenched. "This isn't a joke, Vanessa. This is confidential financial data. Get out." Angela came in halfway through the shouting, looked at me like I was the problem. "She was just being nosy," she said. "God, Darren, you're so paranoid." "Nosy doesn't explain or memorizing line items." Angela laughed. "What, you think she's planning a takeover?" Vanessa just smiled behind her and walked out. Didn't say a word. From that point on, the lines blurred fast. Vanessa stayed longer. Weeks turned into months. She had groceries delivered under our name, took spa appointments on Angela's account, borrowed my car once without asking, claimed hers had a flat, then posted pictures of herself driving around Highland Park on Instagram. Angela didn't just allow it. She defended it. "She's my best friend," she said. "She's been there for me more than you have lately." I pointed at the screen, showing the mileage spike on my SUV. "Yeah? You think this is friendship or opportunism?" Angela crossed her arms. "At least she's present. You're married to your job." That was the moment I knew something was off. Not just bad boundaries. Not just a house guest overstaying her welcome. It was deeper. Vanessa wasn't just visiting, she was embedding. One night I caught her walking out of the office again, this time with a flash drive in her hand. She smiled, winked, and said, "Relax, cowboy. Just backing up some files. Angela said it was fine." I couldn't prove a thing, and that made it worse. I nearly lost it. Touch my files again and you won't have to worry about your next divorce. You'll be in court for data theft. Angela stormed down the hallway seconds later, robe flying. "What the hell is your problem? She's stealing from us. She's borrowing." God, Darren, why do you always assume the worst? Because I've been around enough snakes to know when one's setting up a nest. 3 months later, I walked outside with my coffee and found Vanessa leaning on my truck. She had that same smug look she always wore when she thought she'd won something. "Morning," I said flatly. She smirked. "You should know. Angela filed for divorce this morning." Just like that, no warning, no lead-in, just a knife to the ribs before 8 a.m. I blinked. "What?" She tossed her hair over her shoulder like we were chatting about the weather. She didn't want you to hear it from some court email. Thought it'd be more civilized this way. I didn't say a word. Just turned around, went back inside, and poured the rest of the coffee down the sink. That night, Angela came home like it was any other Tuesday. Set her purse down, kicked off her heels, and walked into the kitchen where I was sitting at the table with an untouched steak in front of me. "It's not working," she said. "We've grown apart, Darren. You're obsessed with work. I want something different." I stared at her. You didn't even tell me. I didn't want it to turn into a war, she said. I figured it was cleaner this way. Cleaner. She walked out like that was the end of it. Next morning, I got to the office before sunrise. Arthur was already there, standing in my doorway like he'd been waiting all night. No coffee, no greeting. She's not getting the company, he said. I nodded slowly. You already knew. He stepped inside, shut the door, and dropped a folder on my desk. I've had my suspicions for weeks, but now I've got proof I opened it. Bank transfers, shared accounts, formation papers for a new LLC. It was all there. Angela and Vanessa had started moving personal assets into a joint business, registered under both their names. Their mission? Boutique construction consulting. They had already reached out to 3 of our vendors, pitched them a modern alternative to old-school McNally systems. Tried to poach our junior estimator last week. I thought it was a coincidence. Arthur's face was stone cold. They want to use my network to build their startup? I looked up. Looks like it? He nodded once. Then we burn it down. That man didn't hesitate. He moved like a war general. By noon, he had the legal team freeze Angela's access to her trust accounts. By 2, every vendor and subcontractor got a cease and desist letter reminding them who owned the McNally intellectual property. By 4, Vanessa's boutique firm got flagged for using proprietary language and bidding documents copied straight from our templates. Arthur called in every favor he had. Bank holds, contract audits, board emergency session. He didn't give her an inch. I sat across from him in the executive conference room, watching him go full scorched earth for a company his daughter had just tried to gut. She betrayed the name, he said, and she brought a snake to the table. You don't reward betrayal. I nodded, jaw tight. I would have never seen this coming. He looked at me like I was an idiot. That's because you thought loyalty was mutual. I didn't blink when the paperwork came. Angela had her lawyers serve me at the office. Real classy move. They timed it for a Monday morning board prep. Made sure half the execs saw the envelope hit my desk. The next call I made was to Kim Rivers, a contract litigator out of Austin, with a reputation for eating divorce attorneys for breakfast. Arthur called her the last person you want across the table. I called her my insurance policy. Angela came out swinging. She claimed familial rights to McNally and Sons. Said the company was built on her bloodline, that she deserved partial ownership regardless of the board vote. Her lawyers tried to argue that the family name alone gave her a stake. Kim just smiled. We don't litigate feelings. We litigate facts. She laid it out clean. Every share had been transferred to Arthur's holding trust and reallocated to me by formal board vote. Angela never held a title, never drew a paycheck, never touched a contract. Her name wasn't on anything but the holiday party invites. That should have ended it. But Vanessa showed up next. She filed a motion as Angela's business partner, claiming she was owed a percentage of projected profits from deals she helped influence, whatever that meant. Kim didn't flinch. During discovery, she got Angela's old phone records, unlocked a full thread of texts between the 2 of them, plans to push me out, mock-ups of a fake consulting site, strategy notes on which vendors to target. One message from Vanessa read, "Once he's gone, we'll turn this place inside out." We printed it in color and handed it to the judge. During mediation, Angela finally cracked. She sat across from me, eyes red but jaw still locked, and said, "You stole my birthright." I didn't raise my voice, didn't call her names, just handed over a stack of statements. 6 years' worth of expenses, mortgage, travel, utilities, staff, insurance, all paid by me. Even the catering bill from her mother's birthday gala last year, $38,000, all from my account. I didn't steal anything, I said. I built it. While you were shopping for table linens, she went silent. Her lawyer didn't say a word. The judge dissolved the LLC, froze their accounts, denied Angela's request for alimony, said there was no legal basis for compensation from a company she never contributed to. Vanessa didn't even show up to the last hearing. Coward vanished the second it got real. Angela left the courtroom in tears, clutching her empty handbag like someone stole her future. Her mother wouldn't even make eye contact. I walked out with Kim by my side, and the cleanest win I'd ever had. No payout, no property split, no headline scandal, just facts, law, and silence. And a door slammed shut for good. 2 weeks after the final ruling, the whole damn house of cards fell in on itself. I was in the middle of a compliance audit when my assistant walked in with a smirk and a headline pulled up on her iPad. Vanessa was being sued by her ex-husband. Civil fraud. Turns out she'd faked income statements to duck alimony payments. Claimed she made $40,000 a year as a consultant. The bank statements told a different story. Private jets, designer handbags, spa bills under shell accounts. I didn't say a word, just handed the iPad back and went right back to the audit. Angela moved in with Margaret not long after. No goodbye, no note, just her closet emptied out and Alexis missing from the garage. I found one of her silk scarves left behind on the coat rack. That was it. Arthur didn't even mention her name again, not once. He canceled their joint family trust, had his lawyers scrub her from every historical McNally document, gala photos, site dedications, even the legacy walls in the main office, quietly, surgically, without fanfare. She'd been erased like she'd never been there to begin with. I didn't argue. The board met the following month and voted to grant me full executive authority. No interim status, no co-chair. Full stop. First thing I did, clean house. I brought in new project managers, dumped the legacy hires who hadn't adapted since '95, and promoted 2 foremen who'd come up through the trenches. Real grinders, no silver spoons. Then I rewrote our entire HR policy from the ground up. Updated every safety standard, mandated ethics training, rebuilt vendor compliance from scratch. No more handshakes and backdoor discounts. If your paperwork wasn't airtight, you were off the bid list. McNally & Sons became a machine. Fast, sharp, clean. My office turned into a war room. We were pulling off 3 state expansions, federal infrastructure bids, and renewable builds all at once. I barely left the building some weeks. There were nights I'd crash on the leather couch in my office with job site reports stacked like a pillow. And you know what? I was good with it. The noise, the pressure, the strategy, it kept my mind where it needed to be. Every now and then, though, I'd see it. A notification. Her name, Angela. Just one line. Can we talk? Always the same. No explanation. No subject line. Never a follow-up. She never called, never showed up in person. Just dropped those emails like fishing lines, hoping I'd bite. I never did. She still had her mother, her yoga retreats, whatever soft landing lifestyle she cobbled together. But the empire, that was gone. Arthur never addressed it directly. We'd talk every Sunday, same as always. He'd call around 9, say, "You see those steel prices yet?" Like nothing ever happened. He never asked about her. Never asked if she'd reached out. But he did say one thing, once, after a long pause on the line. "She made her choice, Darren. So did you." I didn't reply. I just looked out the office window and watched a crew pouring concrete for our next headquarters site. I watched the pour finish, shut my laptop, and grab my keys. Didn't need to stay late. The team had it handled. These days, things are simple. Same 3-bedroom apartment I've had for years. Still got the dent in the front door from the time I kicked it open with a busted briefcase and no hands free. I never replaced it. Reminds me where I started. I eat breakfast every morning at Miller's Diner, a few blocks from the main job site. They know my order by heart. Eggs over medium, black coffee, wheat toast, no butter. No one there cares who runs McNally & Sons. I like that. The company's stronger than it's ever been. We just closed a multi-year state contract that'll keep crews running through 5 counties. Electricians, concrete guys, welders, thousands of them, all with steady paychecks. That's the part that matters now. Feeding families, building things that last. I don't date. Don't go out much. My circle's tight. Foremen, site managers, the interns who hustle and ask good questions. They call me Mr. Laramie at first, then just Darren after a week. That's fine by me. Titles don't pour concrete. Arthur still calls every Sunday morning, without fail. He answers with, "Son, now." That's new. He never said it before Angela left. We don't talk about her. I think he regrets what she became, but he'll never say it. Just sips his coffee and reminds me to check steel prices before Tuesday's bid. That's how men like him say, "Sorry, I built this life brick by brick, no shortcuts. No last name advantage. Just long nights, raw eyes, and numbers that had to line up or people didn't eat." Angela and Vanessa, They were a storm, loud, fast, left some wreckage. But I'm still standing. My mom used to say, "You'll always have to work twice as hard to get half as much, but if you don't quit, no one can keep you down." She scrubbed toilets for a living, balanced truck stop books in a back office that smelled like diesel and burnt coffee, and still found time to make sure I had clean socks and working shoes. She was right. I'm not bitter. I'm just better, smarter, harder to knock over. And next time someone hands me the keys to an empire, I won't just check the locks. I'll damn well know who's riding shotgun.